Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see a lot of your smiling faces. I know some people are tired of the camera by the end of the day, or maybe you're like me, sometimes you're just not camera worthy, which is fine, but hopefully you'll at least participate if we have a chance to do so later in our meeting tonight. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Christina Owens. I am the District 11 mentoring and coach chair this year. So my role is to get a backlog of mentors and club coaches so that we have someone on standby when we have a new club that joins the District 11, or if we have some struggling clubs that need a little extra help. So I have been compiling a list of mentors and coaches, and now we are having our first training session to let you know exactly what you're getting into when you agree to be a club mentor or a club coach. So feel free to raise your hand throughout if you have any questions. I will, again, during the training session, I will be asking you for a little bit of feedback and some responses. So feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand. We'll call on you. Rakia is here to help me out with that. And we're just going to hopefully just have a good time. So first we'll go through the mentor training. And a lot of those same skills, I think, apply to being a club coach. So at that point, I'll try on the coaching side just to give you some more of the extra details that are required of a club coach, because there are a few more requirements and things that you have to do on that side of things. So I guess I'll start out first to make sure everyone can hear, everyone can see, if anyone has any questions or any difficulties right now before we go any further. All right. So I am so awesome at technology, and that's a total lie. So we are going to try to share and see what happens. Awesome. So again, thank you so much for being here tonight. I really do appreciate all of you coming tonight. So new club mentoring, why does that matter? I think if I heard correctly, last year, District 11 had no new clubs that started. And Rick can correct me if I am wrong on that. We had one last year. So we have a big goal this year to start new clubs. And every new club that starts can have up to 2 mentors assigned to it. So we have a big goal. I'm not even going to say it out loud because it's a little scary, but we are going to need some mentors and throughout the entire district. So that's why you are here tonight. So today we're just going to, or this evening, we'll go through your duties as a mentor. How do we have quality club meetings? Because that's what's really important. We want to get these clubs started on the right foot. And then again, how do we build and maintain membership? Because we know Toastmaster clubs thrive on membership. People leave and move on to other things, and we need to always have a constant influx of new members to keep a club strong and to maintain its status. And then a thing about recognition. Everyone likes to be recognized. I don't care if you're passing out a small little candy bar for doing a great table topics response. Everyone likes to have their efforts recognized. We'll talk about the education program that hopefully all of you are very familiar with, as well as the Distinguished Club program. So who is a mentor? Basically, someone who shares their expertise with someone else. So this mentorship for a new club is going to be very similar if you've ever mentored like a person. Maybe you have a mentor program in your club. So you mentor that person. You help them become the best Toastmaster they can be. So imagine doing that on a club level. That's what we are asking you to do as a mentor. Now, the district here, Carol, Diane Stewart and I put together this list of things that we think would be helpful to be a mentor. So that middle column there. So time in Toastmasters. We think if you've been in Toastmasters a couple of years, that would be great. Maybe a little less if you're part of a distinguished club because your club is strong and doing the things it needs to do to be distinguished. We think completing level 2 would be nice. There is a Pathways Mentor program, not exactly related to club mentorship, but it does help you with the mentoring aspect in general. I think a very helpful thing would be to visit some other clubs, because your club doesn't do things the way others clubs do them. So there are so many different ways to hold Toastmasters meeting. And I think we don't want to necessarily perpetuate what you know, but maybe gather some things and tips that you can get from other clubs. If you've been a past area or division director, very helpful. I think you know what you're doing at that point. It's not necessary, but maybe that would be nice. Maybe you've served as a club officer. Again, you know what's going on in the inner workings, because as a mentor, you're going to have to lead their club officers in how to proceed. Having a flexible schedule might be helpful, especially if you have a lot of corporate clubs. That is where we tend to see a lot of our growth, is in the corporate sector. And a lot of those clubs meet at noon during the week. So do you have a lunchtime schedule flexibility that you could offer to the district? And then just to know all the roles, because again, you're going to be attending those meetings and you're going to be seeing how they're working out and then giving them advice on how they could do certain things a little bit better. And my contact information is up there at the top. So not only are you giving benefits to the new club, but you actually get some benefits too. You finally have a chance to take all that Toastmasters knowledge that's in your head and share it with other people that actually want to hear it. You can take all the things that you've learned and you can put them into productive actions. So you've found a great way to do table topics. Now you can take that and you can promote that with another club. You can prove that you're a leader, that Toastmasters not only gives you communication skills, but those leadership skills as well, and show that to other members. You are part of the future of Toastmasters. If Toastmasters doesn't have new clubs, we don't have a way to reach more people. So you are part of that vision. You can give fresh perspectives to people. So like I said, not all clubs do things the same way. So now you have a chance to give your perspective on how things are done and done well. Teamwork, ooh, what a fun word. I always hated team projects, group projects in high school, but now we have to have a team. I can't do it all myself. Rick can't do it all himself. Keith can't do it all himself. We all need to be on a team. So how do we get us all on one page and work moving forward? Well, this could be a very new situation. This brand new club who's never had a Toastmasters club before, they've maybe seen one meeting go on. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to be doing meetings every week. So you now have a chance to put those skills to use in a new situation. And let's face it, you get credit for your DTM. How many of us want to have that DTM after our name? And this is one way that you can earn, one of the requirements to earn a DTM, being either a club mentor or a club coach. To appoint mentors. So Diane Stewart, the club growth director, and I work together, and we will assign you within 60 days to that new club. Again, we can have up to 2 members per club, and which really helps out a lot, because if you can't make a meeting, perhaps they can make the meeting and you don't feel like you have to be present at 100% of the time. So the district director, Rick Holtmeyer, and then Diane Stewart, our club growth director, will email this to Toastmasters International once the club is chartered. And it has to be done within 60 days of that point in time. So if you've been around Toastmasters a while, you've probably heard of a club sponsor. Now that club sponsor is the person who is kind of going out and recruiting that club to start in the first place. So they're going out and maybe they have a lead at a place maybe where they worked, or some people they know. They go out and they recruit the members. So they do all of that information ahead of time before you would come in as the mentor. The sponsor is responsible for submitting all the paperwork to Toastmasters International, and then the club mentor would take over from there. So I think it'd be fun to ask a few questions. And I found this one particularly interesting. So as a mentor, you are going to be asked questions because they don't know anything. They don't necessarily know how to make the agenda work and how it flows. They don't know about pathways. There's a lot of things that you have to teach them. So you might get thrown off the wall questions from time to time. So like this one. Can an evaluator require a member to repeat a project if they didn't meet all of the project objectives? Does anyone have an idea what the answer to that question is? Mark Walton.
No.
No, why?
The evaluator's job is to give his or her opinion of the speech. He doesn't have any authority to accept or decline the completion of the speech. That would be my answer.
Perfect answer. That is correct. No, they cannot say you didn't do that right. You were supposed to be working on vocal variety and I didn't hear any, so you need to do that project again. They cannot do that. Question 2. I love this one too. And Karen Hogarth will know where I'm coming from. If a speaker wants more time for a speech than given, can they revise the time with the VP of Ed's approval? Any takers? Anyone brave enough? Stacy.
The answer is no.
And why? Or what would you do if they wanted to do this?
We have a timer in the meeting. If the speech went long, we still need to follow the rules. So they would get the red card and their time would be recorded.
Right. Any other opinions on time? Jane?
Sorry.
It's okay.
As long as you do it in
My
advance.
I'm sorry, my response to this is the answer is no. But I've learned that a certain project in the pathway may go beyond 5 to 7 minutes. I had one speech that required 15-20 minutes. So I had to make arrangement with the VPE. So we normally have 3 speaker slots. So my speech took up 2 speaker slots. So try not to fall into the trap that everything is 5 to 7 minutes, and that's not true. So
I totally agree there, Jane. That's you based on what the project is, you need to go by that time requirement. Mickey, you had your hand up too?
Yeah, it says in the pathway specifically in some of the different manuals that we have that with the Vice President of Education's approval, you can modify the time. It's just up to whether or not they allow it. So rules are rules. We follow rules. If it says in black and white that they can modify it, then they can modify it. Now, your club may have a different policy, particularly that's an agreement of the rules because all clubs function differently. But again, that would be up to the Vice President of Education.
Okay. Mark, I love this topic. This is fun.
Boy, I'm going to take the opposite tack. Our clubs are here to support our members. If a member needs more time for a speech, who are we to say, no, you can't do that? We want the speech. We want to see the speech skills. We want to evaluate the speech skills so we all learn. But let's turn down the chance to give a member a bad experience. My 2 cents. Thank you.
Definitely a way to handle that tactfully. I think Donna had her hand up first before Karen. I want to go to her.
The answer to your question is yes. And as long as they let the VPE know before the meeting starts, that way the VPE can adjust the agenda.
I think that's a very important point, is adjusting the agenda, like Jane mentioned too. Karen? Oh, we can't hear you. We still can't hear you. You're not muted. All right. So, Mickey?
Can you type it to us, Karen? And then,
oh yeah, just put it in the chat. While she's doing that, I'll give my 2 cents. I mean, I am just reading what was the answer in this particular training outline. But to me, the project, if it calls for 5 to 7, you should aim to go 5 to 7. Now, if you speak for 8 minutes, I'm not going to stop you at 7:30 or whatever your time limit is. But if you had a club, someone kind of alluded to it, that does a best speaker or something like that, maybe you don't qualify for that and on that particular meeting. But that's just my point of view. Go with what the project says. And Ricky, I'm not sure if I can see the chat when I'm in this mode.
I'm watching it for you.
Okay.
I see James Ryan said yes, as long as you set it up in advance.
And on the other question, Conrad said, I've been asked to repeat a project. I know they have no authority to demand me.
Okay. All right, time is always a fun topic. We have had some members that are DTMs, and we say that do not, don't time me. I think that's what we gave them that initial lev. So, Keith, you had your hand up.
I do have Karen's response now.
Okay, what was it?
Sometimes the timer is the only one that is told that time is to be extended. Usually we try to follow what Toastmasters ask as an aspect of leadership.
Okay. All right, let's find the next one. Can the Vice President of Education refuse to approve a member's level or path if the VPE believes the member could have performed better? Some of these are, I see a lot of shaking heads. So no, they can't do that. Now, if someone, again, wants to repeat it because they feel like they could do better, and let's face it, if you do multiple pathways, you're probably going to come across the same project again in the future path. So you're going to get a chance to focus on vocal variety again. So don't sweat it. No, the Vice President of Education cannot deny you that. Donna? No hand raised? Okay. All right, another one. Let's see. If a member's speech went over time, can they still be included when the club votes for best speaker of the meeting? I think we kind of talked about this already. I'm kind of curious what your clubs do. Do you vote for best speaker of the meeting? Do you have a hard, fast rule?
My club, if they go over on time, they can't qualify for best speaker.
I've seen that, yes. Unless you're just feeling really generous that day. Probably on an icebreaker, you're not going to make them not have the option to be voted on. All right, I think we have one more. Can guests to the club participate in voting for, it says best table topics, but any of the things, can guests participate in voting? What do you think? Parag?
Well, technically they cannot because they are not members, but in our club at times we have allowed them to participate just for fun. Yeah.
Okay, Mickey?
Why not? If it makes them feel involved and it draws them into the situation, the best table topic speaker of the meeting isn't some sort of official role or something. It's not an award on your resume. So why not draw them into the experience and make them a part of the team?
I agree. And this is one that there's no hard, fast Toastmaster rule. It's up to the club. Parag, did you have another one? No? Okay. Yeah, so this is just one of those things. What does your club say? You can make that decision. So these are things that you'll need to do as a mentor to decide which are kind of Toastmaster international rules, which ones are more hard and fast, and then which ones are up to the club and how the club wants to function. All right, so lots of resources on Toastmasters International website. If you don't agree with that, then you haven't been on there. There is so much information on that website. It's a little overwhelming at times. But things that you'll want to do is teach the club, because you won't be around forever. Teach the club to use the resources that are given to them. Teach them about the Distinguished Club program so that they can go out there and check their progress. That's an important thing. Teach them how to go out and get the forms and documents and handbooks and other resources that they can use to help their club succeed. Show them how to do all those administrative tasks. How do I sign up a new member? How do I pay dues? How do I put in my club officer list, etc.? The list goes on and on and on. And then how do I get to current and back issues of the leader letter? Because it's another thing that has lots and lots of information in it. So your duty is to make sure that this club, when you leave it, is strong and it's functional. So they know how to run a meeting well. They know how to have good, productive meetings. They know how to log progress and pathways. They know how to do all those administrative tasks that we just mentioned. They know where to distinguish between what's a rule in Toastmasters and what's up to the club. That is what your duty is as a mentor. So let's talk about a few things. What would be a consequence? I don't have a slide on this, but what would be a consequence if, say, your vice president of membership did not submit membership applications? For some reason, they didn't know they were supposed to do that. What would be a consequence to the club if that didn't happen? Mickey?
Club wouldn't grow. It wouldn't show us paperwork, and it would create resentment among members who are working on their pathways but can't start their pathways.
Right? They wouldn't have access to pathways. You wouldn't see the membership on the Distinguished Club report. Sam?
May have a member shocked that they aren't able to compete in a speech contest.
Ooh, that would be a bad one, wouldn't it? Been practicing all year long and now you can't participate. Anyone else? Rick?
Yeah, this is just for the district level. That means the district doesn't get money for that member, which means that we may not be able, well, if it have happened a lot, we couldn't put on the programs that we've even budgeted to put on.
Right. I wouldn't have thought about that one. Any others? The only other one I have listed here is that you would be ineligible to serve as a club officer. We don't know you exist. So make sure that they know how to do all of those mundane things that aren't so mundane. So like we talked about earlier, there are certain things that are the club choice. So just because you do it in your club does not mean the new club has to do it in their club. So things like the invocation. Some people don't want to do that. Some people don't want to do the pledge or some other patriotic oath, depending on what country you're in. Some people don't want to give awards out. So those are totally things that the club can choose to do. Now, you might feel strongly about something like Best of the Meeting awards. You may feel like that recognition really does help members. So maybe you want to push them to do that, but they can decide not to. But having quality club meetings is not something that they can decide not to have. So how do you have a club meeting that is of good quality that makes people want to come every week? How do you keep it from being boring? How do you make sure people are participating in pathways and preparing for their roles? And instead of everyone showing up that day and saying, hey, who's going to be a grammarian? Hey, who wants to give a pocket speech today? You know, how do we get people to prepare ahead of time for their roles? So you are that example to get them on board with that kind of a process. So teach them how to prepare, teach them how to use an agenda of some kind. So a lot of people use Free Toast Toast. That is a great website. It's free Toast Toast, that you can use to plan your meeting agendas and do lots and lots of other things. So maybe they want to use that as their way to plan their club meetings. My one club at work, we use a spreadsheet. It's not very fancy, but it gets the job done. Just some kind of way to plan ahead. And I really encourage clubs to plan ahead. If you can have the next few weeks built out so if people know what they're doing, I think it really helps the momentum of the club. Give them ideas for maybe themes for their meetings or different types of meetings that they could have so that it doesn't feel like it gets boring or monotonous. And then membership. How are they going to keep bringing new members in? If it's a corporate club versus a community club, those answers might be very different. So you are going to be teaching these roles. Think about who you're going to be teaching these to. So the first inaugural vice president of education, teaching them about how to plan those meetings, put those agendas together, and how to get people to sign up for roles. The members service part of it, you know, as the membership vice president or as the VP of PR, like how are we going to keep people coming in and making excitement for our meetings? So thinking about the different officers you're going to teach so that they can perpetuate that to future officers. So membership, 20 members. They have to have 20 members to charter. So let's keep them at 20 members. So how do we do that? So just always have them thinking about how to invite new people into the fold and to show them the benefits of Toastmasters. Always keep that in the front of their mind. So because why? So number one, having 20 members, not everyone shows up at every meeting. If you have 2/3 of those people show up, you have enough people to run a pretty good meeting. If you have a lot less than that, then the meetings get a bit difficult. You have people doing double duty. You don't have many people that don't have roles to answer table topics questions. And then you don't have a base of leadership for future growth. So the next year, you might have the same officers doing the same roles again and again. So getting new members gives new people opportunity to lead the club and bring in new ideas so that it doesn't stay the same over and over and over, because they bring in fun and interesting meeting ideas. And that's always a great reason to keep coming every week. The ways that you can do that, you can have some membership contest at the club level. Maybe you give away a prize for the member that invites the most guests to the club, or the first person that one of those guests turns into a member gets a special recognition or award or something like that. And then just the Success 101, thinking about that and how you can use that to build membership. So Toastmasters International hosts a lot of different membership drives across the year. So think about these different programs and what they mean, and encourage your new club to participate in those, or they can make up their own. And then with the VP of PR, how do I get information about my club out there? So if I am at a corporate club, what avenues do I have within the company to promote Toastmasters? Well, let's get those out there. So help them brainstorm some of those ways. If you're in a community club, what are ways that we can get this out to the community? Who is my target audience for this club? And find ways to help them brainstorm and how to make that happen. So keeping members is important. And I think members stay around for a few reasons. They have to feel like this is something that they are getting a benefit from. But when you can transfer someone from it's all about me and what can I benefit to what can I help others to do, I think you've really got a good Toastmaster on your hands there. They are in it for life. And I know several people on the screen today have been in Toastmasters a long time. And you've learned a lot over the years. And now you're at the point where you want to give back. So that, which is exactly why you want to be a mentor or a coach, because you know how valuable this program is and this whole situation and how much it can help you and other people. And you want to see other people get that benefit as well. So getting it from being me-centered to other-centered, and then making it everyone's job. It's not just the club officers. It's not just the vice president of membership responsible for getting members. We are all responsible for bringing guests into our club so that they can see how great we are and how much fun we have. And then we have the Distinguished Club program. So encouraging them, here's the education award you need to receive. Here are the different administrative awards you can get. Just walk through those so that they know that there's things out there that people will recognize you for doing over the course of the year. And then to fill out that club success plan to understand how am I going to move towards being a distinguished club. So that plan helps you with that process. And again, why do we do this? Because we get that wonderful DTM part of our DTM credit requirements done. So once you've been a mentor for 6 months, then the mentor, you and the charter officer will submit the get credit form to Toastmasters International, and you will get credit towards your DTM for this mentorship. All right, that is the end of mentoring. So now I am going to open it up for any questions that you have about mentorship. Sam.
Actually, it's a comment.
Mhm.
If you've never done it before, don't feel like that you have to have all the answers or that you have to do it by yourself. Always keep in mind, if you think of other people who may have more or a club that may have resources or experiences that could benefit your mentorship with the club you're working with, take advantage of that. Don't think you have to do it by yourself. And then my second thing is, it's nice. I think you can still have up to 2 mentors. A new club can have up to 2 mentors. If you get that, would be to me an ideal situation, because you and your other mentor can learn from each other, because each could bring different perspectives into that relationship, working with the club. So that's something to think about as well.
Absolutely. It's like giving an evaluation. One person would see one thing that someone did well or needs to work on, and someone else would look at the exact same speech and see something completely different. So yes, having 2 mentors is a great thing. Donna?
How soon will we get assignments? Because I'm wanting to do both mentor and coach.
Well, of course. So mentor requires us to have a club that is ready to charter. So that is a bit challenging to do. We do have some leads in the pipeline on that. So once we know where those are going to be located, like all the information, I will put that out to the people that are on my list and let people know and see what's available and who's interested. Club coaching that we'll get to here in a second. We have to have clubs that are interested in it. We definitely have clubs that are eligible, but there's some things they have to do on their end as well. So once we have those people that have reached out, we can reach out to our list and see who is interested. All right, any other questions or comments on mentorship? There might be more questions on both once we get to the end to see the differences. All right, we're going to move on now to coaching. Like I said earlier, in my opinion, there are a lot of the same skills that are needed, but there are a few more requirements with coaching that we'll have to go through. So why would someone need a club coach in the first place? Well, these are going to be clubs that are struggling a bit, and typically in the membership department is kind of what puts them on this list. So we'll go through what the qualifications are that you need to be a coach, why they need the coach, and then how to do that. Again, same slide I had earlier, the column on the very right, things that we think are helpful. There's only a few things that are required by Toastmasters International. So we think it'd be helpful to be in Toastmasters a few years at least. You're very familiar. This is going to be a challenge to do this role. We think if you complete a pathway, I want to know that you are in pathways and that you are on board with that, or you've already had your DTM, to know that you're just fully involved in the new education program. The one requirement from Toastmasters International is that you complete the club coach program module in Basecamp. That is a requirement for the coach and for the club. Again, I think it would be nice, we might call it a must-have, to visit other clubs to get an idea of what other clubs do. Area or division director would be nice to have. Being a club officer is a requirement. And then again, having that flexible schedule. So as a coach, we want you to come in, and you're not going to be, the savior riding in on the white horse that has all the perfect answers, and it's going to take and lift this club up to distinguished club status in a matter of no time, and it's going to be wonderful. And you're not going to come in either as a dictator that's going to tell them what to do, and you're not doing it right, and that sort of thing. So we want you to come in and build rapport with the club members. Come in, be an observer for a little while, see how they work, and then come in and start helping them develop some goals, and then help them achieve those goals. So we want you to make them enthusiastic about saving their club and have a sense of responsibility, because it's up to them to do it. You are just there to help. So the benefits to you as the club coach, very similar as the mentorship, building those team building skills, getting some leadership experience, being a facilitator, negotiator. Those sound like fun words. Diplomacy. What if you have members that are like at each other and that's why the club is struggling? You might have to come in and be a little diplomatic and understand how that dynamic is working. Again, sharing that expertise, investing in the future of Toastmasters, and the all important that credit towards the DTM award for all of your hard work. So I mentioned some of these earlier, but I wanted you to have a slide where they were all laid out. So very important, you cannot be a member of the struggling club in the past 6 months, because we want a fresh perspective. We want someone else to come in and help them out. You have to be a paid Toastmaster in general member for at least 1 year. You can only coach one club at a time. You have to have completed a minimum of a level 2 in a path. We kind of recommended a little bit more than that. You have to have served 1 year, an annual term, or 2 semi-annual terms as a club officer, and again, completing that club coach program module. So if you are interested in being a club coach, I would recommend you go out to base camp and and complete that program. It is under, if you go to base camp and you go to your club, it's under tutorials and resources is where you'll find that. Sam?
What's the time limit on that, putting that module? Because I was going to be a coach for a club last year. I completed the module last year. Do I have to redo the module, or as long as I've got done before it's recorded, is that okay?
That is a good question that I don't know the answer to, but I will find out and let you know. My gut wants to say once you've done it, so you're good to go, but I will find out. So not only does the coach have some qualifications, but the club does have to have some skin in the game, as you will, if you will. So important that they have at least 3 members, but not more than 12 members. So that is where we're defining that struggling club status. Again, the coach can't be a member of the club when they're appointed, and those officers also have to complete that club coach program module in base camp. So my question to you, why do some clubs thrive while others struggle? Donna?
There is several reasons. It's not a creative meeting anymore, or it's very diplomatic, and one person is running the show at all times. Whatever they say goes. That's just to name 2 things.
Okay. Mickey?
In the stages of teamwork, there's an initial stage where you storm and norm and define roles. And I think the clubs that fail to identify their roles and gel together in the appropriate manner often don't develop their own identity. And that's when things fall apart because they can't work as a team.
Work as a team, okay. Jane?
In my experience, it has been how well Toastmaster Club connects to the memory needs. It's not so much of what you can do with Toastmasters, more of what can Toastmasters help the member. So if the member is, let's say the member is afraid to do public speaking, then we can have somebody to support that person as a whole and say we can guide you from there. So if that member feels like they're not alone, so there's a relationship connection as well. So when other club members see that happening, it can be very contagious. So then other people say, I will help you on that, I've been there. So it's a very good sense of vibe, enthusiasm, positivity in relationship to help each other out what their goals are. And that's how the club thrives. However, if you have somebody who is not willing to change, that just put a damper in the whole club. So we just have to be very careful if we ever run into a single person that could mess up the whole club. No.
Yes, relationships I think are very important to thriving Toastmasters clubs. The ones that I have seen always form bonds that are way outside of Toastmasters. Any other? So a lot of relationship type things. Mark Walton?
Yes, I'll mention one thing that has been a mystery to me for the 10 years I've been in Toastmasters. The clubs that I'm in go in waves. We do real well for a while and get strong. We'll have 28 members or 34 just before COVID. And then we're down to 12 and 15. And then we build back up and then we sink back down. What I see and don't understand, maybe somebody here can help me, is that the Find a Club on Toastmasters International sometimes generates a lot of vet guests. And sometimes we don't hear a thing from it. Great mystery to me.
Very interesting. All right, Donna, do you have a thought?
If I can add to what Mark just shared, I think more it is what can we do as members, clubs, the district, to get them enticed into our club? Because yes, as a past division director, several years I got emails from the district trio asking me to reach out to these clubs saying, why haven't you reached out to these members? And then same thing on our end, when we have reached out to members. And last fall, there were 5 weeks right in a row, 5 people that were interested in Leadership Outreach Club. Now, but could we ever get them to actually show up when we talk to them over the phone or email? Other ways? Oh yes, they were excited, but we couldn't ever get them to actually show up and commit.
Yeah. Rick, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just a couple of metrics. The most common reported problem, and this is from a TI international survey, they went out after people who had sent the information about leads, and they ended up not joining. The most common reason given was we made the call to the number for the club and nobody ever got back to us. I have looked at that specifically in just a couple of clubs down here in Division F that were having some trouble. The phone number was of someone that no longer existed in the club. So it's a very simple matter to be able to change that phone number so people know who they're contacting. The other thing that pertinent to the previous 2 people that spoke is that it looks like, and this is again just from some spot checking here in this district, it looks like the average person that has an interest in a club is going to at least 3 clubs before committing to one. So that means even more so that the meeting you put on always should be a stellar performance.
Yeah.
I just thought those stats might have some interest.
Yeah, I do find that, as an area director, I've done visits, and that one of the questions you fill out after the fact that I didn't ask is like, is your Find a Club information correct? And now that you say that statistic, I should pull that up right there in the meeting and go, look at this. This is if people do Find a Club, this is where they're going to go. Is this right? So I think that's a good point to pass along to our area directors. I think this problem is twofold. So number one, you got to get them there. So Find a Club is up to date, has the right information. I know of some people that say, I wanted to go, and then it took me like 3 months before I got myself actually to a meeting. But then once you get them there, keeping them there. So are you always having guests, but no one ever stays? That's a different problem than if you're never having guests. So you have to have guests to get the members. So find out which problem you're having is an important step. Jane?
I also noticed that if you have a member who have some sort of inkling that they want to join the club, but they're like on the fence, don't have them walk away from the club meeting without getting the contact information and actually follow up on that call. It could be a VPM calling to, hey, we saw you in the meeting the other day. What did you like best about it? What are songs, that kind of conversation. And however, if you have a prospective member that did not come back, then you call them again to, hey, we miss you. What can we do to help you? And so when you establish that link, don't lose the link.
Exactly. And if they're willing to sign up today, don't put them off. Sign up. Figure out how to get that done. Those are all really great ideas. I like those a lot. So another one, we got into a lot of relationships and leads getting there and staying there, but some basic things. What if the day of the week or the time of the day just doesn't fit that area? In my area on the south side of Indianapolis, we have a club that meets at 6:30 in the morning. That could be really, really early for some people. We have another club that meets at 6:45 in the morning. People are like, I don't want to get up that early. So if you find you're struggling, well, then maybe the time of day isn't right for people in your area. It's a thing to think about. And just the location itself, is it confusing? Because I've been to some clubs, and if I'm a visitor, I think, I don't know if I could have found this on my own. I've walked around lost and looked for someone that looked like they were going to a Toastmaster meeting. And I think, okay, I'm going to follow them and hope I get to the right spot. So signage is important. Everything is to make it as easy as possible for them to show up. All right, so you're going to get to this club. You're going to meet with everyone, the president, the coach, the district director. You're going to sign the club coach agreement. Come in, observe the club dynamics, develop that rapport, get some trust, respect. And there is a thing called the Club Coach Troubleshooting Guide. I was going to look up the item number, but there isn't one. If you just Google, if you search for it on Toastmasters International, it'll pop right up. So it's a little guide to kind of show you how invested are the officers of this club in turning things around. Again, let's foster that sense of ownership. They need to build their club, because you're going to be spending 6 months with them, maybe more, but a minimum of 6 months, and then you're going to go on your way, and they're going to be left to hopefully not fall back into the waves like Mark mentioned, to keep them going up instead of having these waves of going up and down. So emphasize that they're a team. All these club officers need to work together, and not just the set that's here right now, but the ones that will be here next year and the year after. Maybe encourage those clubs to go visit clubs you know are doing things really well. Hey, so-and-so club has a really great meeting. You ought to go check it out sometime. And maybe they'll get some ideas on, wow, we could really do that easy, implement that, and we could turn things around really well. So the one thing that you do have to do, there are some reports as a club coach that you have to fill out. The first preliminary report is due within 30 days of your appointment. So you got to make sure those are filled out, or you won't get credit for your DTM. All right, so how do we kind of go about this? How do we know what things we need to work on and where the strengths and weaknesses are of this club? Have them do a moments of truth. Have maybe the club presidents present that to the club. That might be a great thing to start. This will help identify their strengths and their challenges and things that we can do to help. And then maybe you have a meeting where you just sit and talk about that. We're not going to have any special roles or the typical roles. We're just going to sit together as a club and we're going to talk about these things. Along the way, you will have to submit progress reports every 60 days until the end of your appointment, which again is a minimum of 6 months. So just like as a mentor, you want to teach that club how to have great meetings, Because, as Rick said, if someone comes to your meeting, it needs to be stellar every time. I don't want to be coming in, logging on, and people are assigning roles and no one knows who's doing what. It doesn't feel organized. I want to come in and feel like wowed, like join something like this. I've been education understands the club leadership handbook. That is a very helpful tool to understand what my role is as a club officer. And just anything that you think of that can help. As I said, Toastmaster International has lots and lots of information on it. So we've talked about this before, relationships. Yes, relationships are all about that. So from a member's perspective, like what are they getting out of this? Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's that, wow, so-and-so was so nice to me when I first came in. I just felt right at home. So having that kind of member focused perspective, and then always having those quality meetings and always being reliable. Don't cancel meetings. You know, I don't want to have a guest show up and like, oh, we're not having one this week. You know, be reliable. Know that it's always going to be there. We've talked about membership. I think we've talked about it just a few times. 20 members to support a club. It's very important. And people come and people go. They may really love Toastmasters, but a job transfer takes them to another state. I love your club. There's no other reason I'm leaving. It's just life got in the way. Life changes for people. So that's why we always have to be adding new members to our club. So run those membership contests that we talked about, like these that we already had before. Again, put these in front of your club that you're coaching and encourage them to do these membership contests. I think membership is going to be an interesting thing depending upon what kind of club that you are in, corporate versus community. And I think we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But getting these members here, retaining them, it's a lot easier to keep a member, I think, just like it's a lot, hopefully easier to keep a struggling club than to create new clubs. So let's keep those members engaged. And again, if we can turn it from being me focused to others focused, we have them for a while. So hand in hand, like I said earlier, some clubs got lots of guests, but don't keep them. Some people don't get the guests at all. So what is your problem? Well, if you're not getting the guests, you have a problem with PR. So how are some ways to promote a club? So I'm asking you guys, what are some ways you would promote a club? And do we need to think differently between a community club and a corporate club? Like someone, you guys leaving me hanging. Jane, what are some ideas?
Oh yeah, I have the experience of both being a club officer in community and corporate clubs, and I can see the differences. PR or recruiting new members is far more difficult in the community than it is for corporate. Because in corporate, the infrastructure is already there. It's just a matter of finding a group within the company to recruit. For community clubs, if you have a chamber of commerce, if you have the city hall, I mean, no matter how big and small, if you have schools, if you have colleges, if you have churches, those are the attributes that you can go for. You even check out for any local business listing and go through there. So you can plead your case of importance of Toastmasters. That's how community experience has been with me. It is very difficult. Now on corporate world, you have your own associate or employees already in the company. What my club did is we used the affinity groups or business resource group members to ask them to come and join Toastmaster meeting for fun. And we found out that many people did end up being members that way. So if we got a pool of people that's already there, it's just a matter of us going there and say, hey, let me introduce you to Toastmaster 101. So it's very different how you can promote. In the corporate world, you got to be very careful on how you promote because there's branding friction. You're buying time assets of the company to do your part. So it's two different types of strategy to tackle, and that's been my experience.
I agree, they can be very different. Donna, what's your advice?
On the corporate clubs, that you have the intranet that you can always promote on, and think about what events your company is doing where you can set up a table and promote that way. I had got Toast last year that was below 10 members. And the time that I visited them to do a report, they had one person out manning a table that was for Lab Week. This was at a company called LabPort. And because they had the right person there, they ended up, by the time spring conference happened, they were up to 16 people. Now, so they knew how to work it. Second thing on corporate, you have to make sure you get a buy-in from HR. If you have a member of the HR department as your sponsor, partner, whatever, you're going to have better success. Polaris Laboratories, one of them. How they sold it to the company is the individual that brought it there went and talked to the director over leadership development, and they used it as a program to promote leadership development. It happened to be that director is a past member from another district out in California. And community, there's a whole wide range of ways you can promote. So I'll leave it for somebody else.
Jane, you had an additional thought?
I have one more comment on that, and I agree with Donna about having a buy-in. My company has 95,000 employees around the world, so we're global. So you can't really use HR because it's just massive. But what I ended up doing is I found the chief learning officer in my company, and I made a meeting with him to tell him what Toastmaster is. I wasted so much of my breath at that time because I found out in that meeting he himself was a former Toastmaster. So he understood Toastmaster right off the bat. However, I had to negotiate with him to have his funds pay for the charting fee as long as my members pay for the membership fee thereafter. So with the negotiation tools in there, so that's how we manage. But having an executive sponsor is a real critical aspect because you're actually asking the company, can I borrow your assets for this corporate club? So, and that's what I did. I had this executive sponsor to be chartered. It's not required for charting, but I made it so. So that's how it works in my world.
Okay. That's all great advice. I think sometimes we forget there's so many ways, especially in today's world. So on the community club side, making sure you have a website that people can go visit. So maybe to find a club, get you a little bit of information, but having a website they can click on to see faces, maybe post some pictures on there of club meetings and things that are happening or any special events you do. And then things like Facebook or Instagram or X that it's now called. I don't know, TikTok, Snapchat. I don't do all of those things, but LinkedIn, there's lots of social media platforms that you could use for the community side and maybe even the corporate side. I was thinking one other thing at the corporate level, a staff meeting. Hey, you have everyone's attention. They're right there for the pickings. And then again, like Jane was saying, if you get the buy-in from the company, you need to show them what's in it for them. So why am I going to give you this money? And why am I going to let you use my space? What's the company getting out of it? And I think it's so easy to show them that. But once you can find some examples and show them the difference it can make in their employees, they'll be on board. Any other thoughts? So different things that you'll have to work with the Vice President of Public Relations to make sure they're constantly out there promoting the club that you are coaching. Achievement, mentioned it earlier. I think it would be fun. I like little tokens, maybe a little chocolate candy bar for something. I don't know, just pass them out, throw them at people, make it fun and entertaining is one way you could do some recognizing achievement. But there are lots of progress charts. If you get onto Facebook, if you're on Facebook at all, there is a Pathways forum and they have files upon files and different charts and different things you can print that you can post at your meetings if you want to do so. If you don't do that, at least like formally recognize when people achieve different levels. So Sam achieved level 3 of the dynamic leadership path. Congratulations to Sam, and we spur everyone else on to want to do the same thing. And then if you're at work, maybe it's mentioned in like the newsletter, or if you're on a community club on your website, social media, anything like that, just really putting it out there with the person's permission, of course. But recognizing achievement is important. So make sure you're emphasizing that. Lots of different ways that we've talked about that. A lot of the same things that you're going to use to promote the club. By recognizing members, you're also promoting the club. So it goes hand in hand. All right, so we're here today. What do we want the club to look like in the future? Where is it going? So help them to get a vision of what they want the club to look like, setting those specific goals, just like we did with our mentor club, with a new club. Let's help them set those goals. Maybe do that club success plan. How are we going to get to distinguished club? Because that is one of your goals as club coach, is to get them to distinguished club status. So club mission, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. I have heard that so many times, and you think I could repeat that word for word, but sometimes I still have to read it. It is our mission. It's why we're here. And I think if you really think about what it's saying, it could benefit everyone. I don't know that there's a single person that honestly couldn't benefit from Toastmasters in one way, shape, or form. So we talked about that. Okay, so in the club success plan, just to be a little more detailed, you will go through and say, okay, we have these 6 different areas for education awards. Who's going to get, what 4 people are going to get level 1s? What 2 people are going to get level 2s? And go through in that process and know how you're going to get those education awards. And maybe some you're like, well, no one's close to a level 4 or 5 this year. That's not going to happen. But maybe next year we can have that on as a goal. And then all the other ones, some that are so simple, like putting your club officer list in on time and going to the club officer training. Those are really easy ones to get. And to get to at least 5 of those 10 points is what we are asking them to do. So make sure they have a strategy on how those DCP goals and those points are going to happen. So here is how you as club coach get your check mark for being a successful club coach. So by the end of the program year, so by June 30th, they need to have had a minimum of 5 DCP points. They must meet their membership requirement. Now, this is going to vary by club. So depending upon what their base membership was, so they have to either have a net growth of 3 members, or if they were above 20, they have to keep at least 20 members. So that's going to vary by club. So you need to know what that is. You have to serve for a minimum of 6 months. You have those reporting requirements that we mentioned. Within the first 30 days, the preliminary report. The next 60 days later, a progress report. Every 60 days after that, another progress report. And then the final report that has to be sent in. Once you have completed your coaching, you will have a written confirmation from the club president and a district officer saying that you are done. then this award will not happen until the end of the planning year. When all the reports are done, then this will be awarded to you. But I guess there is one other benefit that I really didn't realize this was separate. The district will get credit if you bring that club up to more than 20 members. So not just the base plus 3, but to all the way to 20, the district will get credit for being a successfully coached club. That is it. You're trained. You know what to do. So at this point, does anyone have any questions about how mentoring differs from coaching and maybe how you might be assigned? Any questions in that regard that I can answer or find someone else that knows the answer? Donna.
Yes, how soon will I know if I get comments or not?
That's a good question. So I talked to someone from there and they are working on that piece of paper because we've sent the agreement off for that. So I'm waiting on them to return it to us. So I was expecting that weeks ago. Conrad.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was familiar with a coach's role before I was familiar with mentors. My first coach I remember was my basketball coach. And I always remember my old way of shooting was like this, but he led me with a smile and he positioned my hand on the ball and he instructed me to shoot a basketball like this. And so that was my first experience that I remember with coaches. Maybe my dad showed me how to do soccer balls too and play soccer, stuff like that. Maybe that's, but anyway, that was my very first, well, I should say my fondest memory of a coach. And mentors, as according to Toastmasters.org, generally don't give advices, but they give perspective. That's my own understanding before I came into this meeting here. What is your perspective on the evaluation that mentors give versus the evaluation that coaches give?
Yeah, I think they have a lot of the same skills and a lot of the same things they're trying to accomplish. But a mentor is doing this to people that don't know Toastmasters at all. So they have to teach them everything, all the different things they need to know. Whereas a coach typically is going to be coming into a group of people that do know about Toastmasters. They're already having meetings, they know the rules. They just need a little advice. Like you said, adjusting your hands from this to shoot better. So they just need some advice, to someone to come in and guide them to how to have more successful meetings and to get those members in.
So you would, so let me clarify, you'd say that coaches would specifically tell how to get members, stuff like that, and versus mentors would be hearing stories, stuff like that. Is that a good way to rephrase what you said?
Not exactly. I would say the mentors. So imagine the first time you walked into a Toastmasters meeting. You knew nothing about what was going on, right? You didn't know what a counter was or the timer did or the role of the Toastmaster of the meeting. So someone had to teach you those somehow.
Okay.
So that's what the mentor's doing. They're teaching that to people that don't know anything about Toastmasters.
Okay. That answers my question. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions or comments? So I do have all of your names from the registration forms that you filled out to attend this meeting tonight. So I will be adding all of you to my list of potential mentors and coaches. So as I said earlier, if we get the opportunity to have one or the other, I will send it out to the people that I think it probably would fit the best. I'm not going to send our District A people, a club that's down in Louisville. So unless maybe it's virtual, that might work. But if I think someone will fit, then we will make that connection. But just to know, you're all fair game. Now, just because you're asked, it doesn't mean you have to say yes, but I would just put it out there. All right. I think too, since I have everyone's registration information, I will send out these slides to everyone on the list, just so you have them for future reference as well. All right, if no one has any other questions or comments or concerns, I will consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I appreciate all of your attention and all your participation. Everyone have a good evening. It's nice to meet some of you for the first time.
That's good.
We'll be in touch.